for the last 6 weeks, we've been talking about um, networking and all the facets of it, whether it's first impressions or it's the elevator pitch or it's where to network, the whole bit. And we had a great workshop last week where we talked about the actual networking experience. And whenever we do a series, we try to take the next week as a buffer to create like a panel discussion before we start a new series. And we're starting a new series next week about interviewing. And by the way, we added a fourth to that series. The fourth installment will be a discussion about salary negotiation. So we've got 4 in the interview series. So today I had this vision of bringing people, family members who have used Pathways to Aviation in one shape or another. So on our call are 3, and you guys are all family, right? 3 family members. One became certified. I use air quotes because he became certified before we had a certification, and that's Cale Tezio. And then we had Cory Kerr, who may have been like our 2nd or 3rd official certified candidate. And then we're going to talk to Peter Madden, whom you all know, who's not yet certified, but who's part, I think you're in step 3, but you've been using the process, you've been coming to our workshops. And the goal for today's workshop is just to have a conversation about like reality. So I've got a series of questions for them, but just want to like talk about the certification process, getting jobs, fear factors, and then tips to moving forward. And even I can use tips, right? So that's what today is all about. It's only going to take 45 minutes to an hour. I have questions for all these great leaders. Yes, you're all leaders. And we're going to start with Cory. And each of them are going to talk about they're going to share their elevator pitch. And then they're going to just talk about their career journey, what they're doing. And then, they kind of know what questions I'm going to ask. So we're just going to kind of go through that. And holy cow, we're like we're a minute off. So Cory, I'm going to start with you. Can you just share who you are and what's up?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. Can I start with my elevator pitch? It kind of gives a little background. Yeah. So my name is Cory Kerr. I'm a Canadian aerial survey pilot. I've been in the current role for 2 years, conducting a variety of mapping missions throughout North America. I'm coming up on 1,500 hours now, looking to put my aviation experience to work by transitioning into multi-engine IFR roles. Sorry for all the uhs in there. I haven't said that out loud in a while. So we're on the road all year long, traveling throughout North America, flying. So very fortunate to have a job right now with the current industry, the way that it's been going, and got with Pathways back last summer, I think late last summer, through a mutual friend of Peter's and I, and we ended up connecting, Pete and I did, and then ended up going to the process, and it went through pretty quickly, and I've been on the calls ever since then.
Sweet. All right. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, our connection was through a crowdfunding program I used for another group, and he had a friend who he encouraged to sign up, and that friend got you to sign up. And both you and the friend are certified. So it's weird. It's weird how we find our way to different groups, Pathways or others. And we talk about networking all the time, how you never know who you're talking to who can open up a door for you. And it just so happened that Jeff Roebuck, who is in Toronto, turned us on to an individual who turned us on to Cory. And to me, that's the value of power, really, of networking. So cool. Well, thanks for being here, Cory. Cale, go ahead and unmute yourself and share who you are, my friend.
Hi, my name is Cale Tezio. I am a certified flight instructor. I actually I had my multi-engine instructor check ride about, I believe it was a week ago tomorrow. So it's, and I just finished my flight school. So I went to flight school through the aviation career program at ATP Flight School. They have about 50 different locations, and I ended up going to the one in Sacramento. That's where I was from. So it worked out. I just finished and just graduated it now with my certified flight instructor, my instrument instructor, and my multi-engine instructor. I'm really low on hours. I have about 260, so I'm definitely a long ways away from where Cory is at 1500. Hopefully I get there soon. I'm going to be working as a flight instructor through ATP Sacramento. Once they finally offer me a job, it's a little slow right now. There's not a lot of students wanting to come into the market just because it's such a big jump, especially for that school. And so I just am kind of in a waiting period. So I'm going to be looking for other opportunities for flying now. I have been off and on with Pathways. I started when it was really small in Reno, and I remember at the Civil Air Patrol buildings. I ended up meeting Pete at I graduated from the University of Nevada, Reno in 2019, and I met Pete. I went to a mock interview for getting jobs. I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something in aviation, and ended up meeting Pete. And we ended up not talking about anything mock interview related, and ended up talking about Pathways for the entire 10 minutes we had. But so then I ended up I've been to all the seminars and everything like that. And then I'm just now getting on with this Zoom thing. I was pretty focused on flight school when I was in the middle of it, just because I wanted to put as much effort as I could towards that. And I'm glad that I started. So I'm going to start trying to join these every week that I can to keep making connections and, being able to help, because I started as a no time pilot and now I have, over 250 hours and I'm an instructor. So I'd love to help anybody that has no time get to where I am if that's where they want to do.
Sweet. I'm just stoked to have you back. So welcome back. All right, Peter, you're on, buddy.
Okay, so let me get my elevator pitch going. So this is the first time, so be gentle. So my name is Peter Madden. I am a software development professional. Uh-oh, say again? Uh-oh, we got somebody that needs to mute. There we go, sorry. So Peter Madden, I'm a software development professional, currently serving a global software development team as their team leader. What I do there is remove impediments to their success and overall try to improve their effectiveness as a team. My passion is helping teams grow and improve. I'm currently on a journey to pivot and leverage my background to help others discover the joy of aviation as a flight instructor. Shout out to you, Kel. And ultimately, I'd like to continue to develop my skills and advance towards flying progressively larger aircraft in a corporate setting. So drum roll, please. That was my elevator pitch. Hopefully I passed the test. As far as my involvement with Pathways, I was making some notes earlier. I joined a session that you had, Pete, back on September of last year. I found out about Pathways through a podcast of all things that I listened to, 21.5 podcast. One of the participants, or one of the hosts on that podcast, was going to participate in the career symposium that you had tail end of 2020. So I joined in just to find out what Pathways was all about, after I hit your website and looked around. And I remember specifically that I kept my my camera off at that point, because I was thinking to myself, I hit the website and it seemed to be geared towards, the younger end of the age spectrum. And don't let my youthful appearance fool you. I am a little bit further down the pathway of life than many of you, no pun intended, pathway. See what I'm doing there? Okay. But I had the camera turned off, and I remember Eric, he zoned in on me right towards the tail end of the call. And he's like, okay, Peter, I think that's Peter Madden. Hey, you're going to turn your camera on, Peter. And I'm thinking, oh, good Lord, do I really want to turn the camera on and with all of these people watching me? So I waited. I think it was like the second or third call, right, that I participated in. I'm looking at not my syllabus, but my transcript here of all of the sessions that I've participated in. I think there have been 3 since September of last year that I wasn't able to attend. So I've been a regular attendee. I am making it count for all it's worth. I've really enjoyed it. And, much like what Cale was calling out, I am a little bit further down on the life experience spectrum. And my hope is that after I do make that transition into full-time aviation, I'm able to give back either through Pathways or through some other organization like that. You guys have been great to me, and I've really enjoyed being a part of the family, as you call it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Elevator pitch. Nailed it. So good job. All right. So I have some questions for you. You kind of know what they are, but we've already kind of killed the first one. So if each of you, and I guess we can go in the same order, kind of share with the others what your experience with Pathways has been, more from a career readiness and career mentoring perspective. I mean, you each kind of touched on, how you kind of came into us and what it's kind of meant to you, but talk to us, because each of you have been with us in different roles. Cale has yet to be on a Zoom call and a workshop with us, so he's gonna have a different perspective. But we'll start with Cory and just say, how has Pathways kind of helped you along with your journey and moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think first and foremost, with the certification process it's designed to, when you're going through your soft skills, your elevator pitch, is designed to get you career ready right away. So just going through the certification process was extremely helpful, first and foremost. The resume review was great. I had been shooting out the same resume for years, and to then be able to get some really good feedback from Pete, and just feel more confident sending those resumes out. Not that they're really hitting right now, but I still feel really confident with that. You learn a lot about yourself too. I've never done an elevator pitch, and it's something that you can work on and that you're thinking of all the time, especially as you are, for myself, going through different career experiences and actively growing my as pilot. The soft skills, the description of it makes you review yourself essentially, which I found is really helpful. So the more you know about yourself, the more you look into why you're doing what you're doing, and the skills that you have, and why you're ready for that next step, and why you're going where you're going. I think that helps with confidence, and it helps to look for the jobs that you want to have and be confident going into any future interviews, because you've kind of covered that, rather than just shooting out a resume, which is what I was doing before, and then just kind of winging it in the interview. So those skills and that specific feedback and help from you guys has been amazing.
Cool. Thank you so much. That was awesome. And you were with us. You're among the first, so we were just kind of getting into this whole thing, and we really tested that on you and Robert and a couple of others. So thanks for bearing with us. Cale, you don't even know what the certification process is, but can you share what you kind of got out of Pathways?
Yeah, so like I said, I started back when they were being done out of the Civil Air Patrol building in Reno. And so it was definitely, I don't know anything about this certification process, but it really did help. Like Cory was saying, I sent my resume to Pete. I think I've sent it to him about 5 different times. And I still remember it. I think I still have it saved. The first time I sent it to him, I got it back, and there was probably more red marks of notes that Pete put on my resume of things to change than there was of me actual having information that I had. And through the process, it's been slowly refined down to where it's at least a doable resume. I definitely think I still could always do work on it. A big thing that was a help was even in the little seminars that we had in Reno, we would go over things, how to sell yourself, how to carry yourself, how to present yourself as a person, especially, day-to-day life, but going into an interview and into a business setting and things like that. I graduated with a business degree, so I obviously learned all about how to be a business person, but they don't teach you anything of how to walk into an interview and how to shake someone's hand, or how to make yourself stand out above the rest of the people, and how to not just be another name on a list. And I think Pathways definitely helps. That was a big thing that I noticed that I took away from it, is just how to make myself be more, how to be the one that stands out, the one that they're going to go hire because I left the impression of the things that I learned from those seminars.
Cool. Did you even go to Truckee with us once?
I went to Truckee a couple times.
That's what I thought. All right, cool. Because and if anybody, everybody may recognize you, Cale, because you've been like the face of Pathways for a few years. that one photo that we have of you in that networking night in the hangar, like that's a beautiful photo. And so since I took it, I just put that everywhere. It's pretty. I like it. All right. Thanks for sharing that feedback. And Peter, same for you, buddy.
All right. So I was laughing so much at the statements about the photograph there, Pete, that I totally forgot what the questions were. Could you give them to me again, please?
So like, how has Pathways kind of, I don't know, brought you back to life when it comes to your journey towards aviation, and how's it really developed to you?
Sure. Okay. So really for me, specifically what I would call out is I would echo the comments as far as what Gail was saying with the resume. I don't know how many red pens you have, Pete, but I'm certain you go through a whole box full each time that you look at resumes, specifically with mine. So, but be that as it may, probably the biggest thing for me was I've been with my current employer for approximately 18 years. So I've been with them a long, long time. And I have a LinkedIn presence, or I should say, well, I still do, but I had a LinkedIn presence prior to being involved with Pathways, but it had grown a little bit of moss under it, right? So working with Pathways and updating my LinkedIn presence, right? So that really when somebody looks at my LinkedIn profile now, it's not completed at this point, but it begins to take on the characteristics of my resume. That is my long form resume up there now. And the one pager that I created for the pilot specific resume, right? That one page format that everybody talks about. That's really what you reviewed. So, it's getting feedback from you as far as that resume was concerned, plus the updates on my LinkedIn profile. Those have been key. One other thing I'll call out just very, very briefly, and that is a sense of accountability. And this is really important, meaning these sessions every single week. The reason I was looking up at my attendance, right, over the last better part of half a year is, having this on my schedule every week keeps me accountable to myself, to everybody else in moving forward, and really keeps me focused on moving forward in the journey. It's easy for me to get sidetracked with, a full-time job, and I've got a house to maintain, and I got kids, and yada, yada, yada. I could cry a river of tears. But having this on the calendar, right, is that one milestone every single week that keeps me moving forward. So that's been key for me.
Cool. Thank you. I love how each of you had different perspectives. And that's why the question was put out there beforehand, because you all met us in a different way. You might all be pilots, which is odd. Not odd, but you're all pilots. We didn't mix it up too much. But you all have been with us at different times, and our impact on you has been different. The one consistency is red, which will never change. And I think everybody on the call whose resume I've reviewed can say the same. I put a lot of effort into those because I know that it's the start. We talk about skills in the first step, but really it's the second step, the resume, where we really get to, for lack of a better word, dive deep into what you're all about. And that helps you, pinpoint your strengths, weaknesses, and skills and all that to develop a strong resume. So the red will never change. All right, my next question, you guys have touched on it a little bit, but I want to know more about your career aspiration, what you're striving for, your ultimate goal. You're all pilots, I get it. But Cory, we'll start with you again. That way you guys get ample time each. Like, what is your ultimate dream, your ultimate career dream?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, just getting a stable job is big for me right now. I'm on the road constantly, away from family, away from the girlfriend. It's been tough. So I don't want to nail it down to I want to fly for the airlines or I want to fly cargo or corporate. It could be anything. I want to get into bigger planes, multi-engine, IFR, something where I have a consistent schedule, something where honestly I can make some money, obviously, and support myself, support a family, somewhere where I can live where I want to. So I think that's always kind of been the airlines. For me, I went to school similar to Gail. I went to business school and just didn't have that passion like I do with aviation. And when I found aviation, I knew that I wanted to do this every day, and I wanted to do it as a career. So wherever that may lead, whether it be an airline or a cargo or a medevac or whatever it is, I think I don't have too many preferences on it. But specifically, again, just something that's stable, that I can settle down. And a career is one thing, but family is really important too. So a job that allows me to be with my family, be close to my parents, be close to my girlfriend, my brothers, my friends, and live, have a really healthy, you and I were talking about this before, but work-life balance. And I think as you grow through aviation, and as your experience grows, and as you get more senior, a lot more doors open with that. So just getting to that point, I think is where I'm driven to right now.
That's great. And like I said before the show, and the mentors on this call can pretty much support what I say, is that family is important. Family's number one, career's number two, but career drives family in so many ways. So it's great to hear that there's much more to life than just being a pilot for you. And I know Cale feels the same way, and he's about to go on and share his greatest career aspiration. But Cory, thanks a lot for sharing that. All right, Cale.
So I will. My ultimate goal in aviation would be is to be an airline pilot. I've flown since I was a little kid, and I flew by myself a lot, and I always loved to fly. So my goal was always to be an aviation to be an airline pilot. But I've kind of learned through being a flight instructor for the very short time that I've been a flight instructor, that I don't necessarily want to get to the airlines immediately. I know that it's all about seniority, and that's everything that matters when it comes to having a better schedule, having a better plane, things like that. But part of me's always wanted to do something that's a little different, a little more exciting, I guess, on my part. So I haven't exactly decided what I want to do just yet, but whether it be flying the aerial tankers for the fire department, or flying for an air ambulance, or joining the Air National Guard and flying for like an A-10 guard unit, or just something, I want to do something that is not a set schedule, a set steady flight, while I'm still, because I'm only 24 years old, while I'm still in my 20s and early 30s, I want to do something that has a little more excitement to it. And not that being an airline pilot's not exciting, but flying from Los Angeles to New York and back 3 times a week is exciting. Don't get me wrong, but it would just be something that's different. And so I haven't really narrowed down exactly what I want to go for yet, but I know that I have that in my head, that I want to do something a little bit different. And then I'll ultimately get to the airlines and have a steady job, have a steady paycheck, things like that.
Sweet. It's amazing what we realize as we get into it. So, good for you for recognizing that. That's awesome. All right, Peter.
Okay, so I realized when I was sitting in a sailplane above the Continental Divide here in Colorado, about 16,000 feet, I realized as I looked out over the Rocky Mountains that this is why I was placed on God's green earth, meaning I feel so alive when I'm in an aircraft. So the point is that I want to, first and foremost, transfer that passion to others, right? As a flight instructor, that's my initial goal. But really, Pete, your question is, where am I going from there? What's my ultimate goal? Ultimately, I want to join an aviation team, whether that is in a Part 91 setting, or whether that's at a regional 121. I'm a little bit further along, like I said, the life scale timeline. I'll let you fill in the blank as far as what that number is. But the point is, I don't have a lot of time as it relates to Part 121. 65 is going to hit me sooner than it's going to hit the vast majority of people that are on this call. So I know that clock is ticking. So again, whether that aviation team environment is Part 91 or where it is, I'm not really at this point in my journey. I don't have a particular picture in mind, but I want to experience that same sensation, right, that I had in that sailplane in every single job, every single experience that I have in aviation. And that's basically what I'm looking forward to.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. you're on every week, and you I almost share almost every week. You're more of a mentor than you are a candidate, because you help me, I know for sure, but you help others on these calls, and I can see the teacher in you, and that's a passion, and it's pretty exciting at least for me to watch. So thanks for sharing. Okay, I want to open this up to questions from everybody, because before we do that, I want to go back around the same order and ask one last question. And that's like, if you guys had any tips for fellow candidates, whether they're on right now or they're going to watch the recording, because we're going to post this recording, what tips might you share, whether it has to do with this whole certified candidate thing or just getting into the industry?
Like you said, I think getting certified is, and I touched on it before, is not only a great way to use what the program is meant to do, but also to learn about yourself, to get that resume sharpened up. So that's the first and foremost, that's good advice, to just to work on that as long or short as it may take. Just try and make a step every week to try and get that done. My second biggest advice, and I think it can be translated to a pilot or a student or to anyone really, is just to keep going. There's going to be a lot of times where it's a long road and it's tough. I know for myself, I came out of flight school, 200 hours, ready to go, all excited. And I applied to probably 100 places, and it took about 6 months before I heard anything. And every single day it's just sending off these emails and not hearing anything back, or just saying, you don't have enough experience, and you're sending off a resume that only has flight school on it. So it was pretty tough. But eventually I got a job. I heard back. I applied. The next day I heard back. I had an offer 3 days after that, and my life changed. I was out on the road the next week, and I've been doing that now for 2 years, and it's opened up a ton of doors. So things can change like that just so quickly. They can change in a second. So you're gonna find road bumps. You're gonna find a lot of times where it's hard and it doesn't look very hopeful in the short term, but things can change so quickly. So just keep going, and eventually things will work out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Cale, tips?
I would say that my biggest tip that I have is Peter keeps referencing over here that he's starting a little bit later in life. So I think my biggest tip is it's never too late to start or too early to start. I had at my flight school, there was a student that was, I think he had his 61st birthday when he graduated. It was a couple weeks after he graduated. He had his 61st birthday. Still went through the whole program, even though it's designed to be to get to the airlines program. But he just wanted to be a flight instructor because he wanted to fly. So whether you go all the way through to become an airline pilot, or you just want to get your private pilot's license so you can fly around and have some fun and get the feeling and the enjoyment of flying an airplane, it's never too late to start. If you want to do it, there is nothing stopping you from doing it. I thought, only military pilots can become airline pilots. I was very sorely wrong when I found that out, and I just decided one day to do it. So it's kind of one of those things of you can always do it. So if you have your mind to it and you have the passion to want to learn how to fly an airplane, do it.
Sweet, great tips, Cale. Peter?
Yeah, I would just echo the comments that both Cory and Cale have already put on the table. I mean, the way I would express it is that it's not going to be pink ponies and lollipops every day, right? There are going to be some things that you're going to go through that it's going to be a grind. But the point is, the ultimate destination is worth the journey, right? And it's just day in, day out, next step. And the certification process, right? Although I haven't completed it yet, I get that. But the certification process is one of those journeys that you can go through, or one of those processes that you can go through that will position you for success. I mean, Cory talked about sending out resume after resume after resume. Well, the point is, man, if you hadn't sent the resumes out, you wouldn't be positioned for finally that one that said, yep, that's our guy. And you were ready to rock. You gotta, my youngest son used to play soccer, right? And the saying was, you can't score a goal if you don't kick the ball, right? So you just have to stay in the game and just keep kicking the ball.
Great advice, as expected. All right, this is where I want to open things up. We've got extra time to ask questions, so unmute yourself if you have a question for me or for one of our three panelists, but now's a good time.
Yeah, I have a comment and a question. I always do. I'm so sorry. But first of all, I went to college. I started college at 21 and I was in class with a bunch of 18-year-olds and everything. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this late. Now, don't take this the wrong way, Peter, but I've gotten over that, and seeing the older people, I'm like, okay, I'm good. So I'm kind of right there with Kale now too, because I'm also only 24. And I just think that's cool. We're on the same page. I'm like, I'm open to anything. Airlines would be cool, but down the road, because there's so much life. And, you know, do I really want to go to the airlines right now and fly back and forth to New York 3 times a week until retirement? So yeah, I mean, I would encourage everybody, like, explore your options. But I do have a question though too. Is ATP really that fast, Kale? Because I'm at 300 hours and you have less than me, and you're like, oh yeah, I got this instructor, this license, and that license. Like, how long did that take you?
So they advertise it as a 9-month program. I did not take 9
Wow.
months. I started October 2019 and I graduated now February 2021. So it took me 16 months as opposed to the traditional 9 months. I would not have been as ready as I was had I done it in the 9-month time span. It's very location based. So there's a location in Mesa, Arizona that they get you done within your 9-month time frame. The one in Sacramento is a little bit slower paced. It's a little bit more, it's a smaller section. So it's a little bit more of a, I feel like it's more of a family based thing. I knew everybody's name. The one in Mesa has 300 to 400 students. I didn't know anybody. So it's kind of a, yes, they get you they deliver on their promise of getting you through as quick as possible. At your pace though. They do have options to make it go slower, because that program is not for everybody, because it's you complete your instrument rating, the next day you're training to get your commercial rating. So it's you're flying 4 to 5 days a week. It's definitely a very fast-paced program.
And in September, you started at what, 0 hours or?
Yep. October
Wow.
2019, I had 0 flight experience. Well, I mean, I had a couple times just in random people's planes, but as far as me logging time, I had 0 flight experience. And now I have, I think I just looked at my logbook a few minutes ago. I have 264 hours exactly.
Wow. Okay. I should have gone there. That's awesome.
All right. Other questions? Keep them coming. That was awesome, Catherine.
Pete, I don't have a question. I have a comment for the folk, if I'm allowed.
Of course.
So my elevator speech, I'm at the top of my volunteer career. I work for Civil Air Patrol, or actually I volunteer, and I'm the director of aerospace education. I'm on national staff. And my job within Civil Air Patrol is bringing aviation to students. My goal is promoting AOPA's Learn to Fly program, high school aviation, 4-year program. This never existed. For those of you who are my age, that we go back to Wilbur and Orville, back in the old days. I have 45 years of flying. I've worked as an orientation pilot. And when you look at the cadet, the youngsters sitting next to you or in the glider sitting in front of you, and you say, it's your airplane. And the look on their faces as they grab the controls, to me, that's what it's about. It's bringing aviation. And I like the fact that you're sharing your stories. And I encourage you to take part in volunteer flight activities. Join the EAA, the Young Eagles program. Join Civil Air Patrol. Join the 99s. Join the Soaring Society. All these organizations are geared at inspiring younger children. And I make light of the fact that I've been flying for so long, these opportunities didn't exist. So if I wanted flight training, I had to make it happen for myself. You are at such a great point in your careers. And what I like about my chance meeting with Peter and Eric just last year, they kind of fall into what I offer the schools. And I tell them, not only do we have curriculum, but I can offer real life experience if you want to pursue a career in aviation, because there's this great group out on the other side of the United States that they have these seminars and they have these workshops. So I'm so impressed when I hear your stories. And there's a quote from Walt Disney that I think is so appropriate to all of us. If you can dream it, you can do it. There's a passion in all of you. If you can dream it, you can do it. Enough said, Peter.
Oh, I love having you on these calls, Michael. You are awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Any other comments and questions? I know Joe has one. Come on, Joe.
I was going to ask the three students or the three job seekers, what part of Pathways that we offer, what do you think is the most important? And is there anything else that we could be adding in to even help you more?
I can start and say, I think really the weekly Zoom calls have been huge. Part of it is just talking face to face and talking in front of a bunch of people. I talk to our traffic control and I talk to my other pilots. That's the only people I really talk to. Other than that, it's it's a pretty quiet life. So it's it's really nice to be able to talk to everyone. It makes you feel more comfortable. I was never a great public speaker. I still get nervous in front of a bunch of people. So being on these calls, asking questions, being a part of this family and community is great. And it builds confidence that you can then walk into an interview or walk up to a pilot at an FBO and start talking to them, or just builds those social skills. I wouldn't say there's anything, something maybe not to work on, but I would say to the other candidates, if you don't speak up a lot and if you're quiet and you're shy, like Peter was talking about, to turn the camera on, I suggest you do it. Talk a lot, and it might be scary at first, but that first step opens up a big floodgate of opportunity. So.
Anybody else have any comment? Either Peter, Cale?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I saw Cale trying to get off mute, but I'll jump in real quick. So to Cory's point, right, as far as coming off of mute, speaking up, that sort of thing, these calls on a weekly basis, I said it earlier, right? The reason I attend is that sense of accountability to myself, to Pete, to all of the participants here on a weekly basis. And I'll say one other thing, right? So those of you who have seen me on these calls, notice anything different about like my background, anything different about, the attire today? I mean, I'm taking this seriously. Pete asked me to be on a panel. And so I am treating this as a business opportunity. So I dropped the Rocky Mountains in the backdrop. Thank you, Marlis. That was a very excellent suggestion. I put on a collar shirt. You can't tell, but I shaved. Trust me, I did. But no, I'm joking around, but from a very, very serious standpoint, right? This provides an excellent opportunity. I do this sort of thing for work all the time, right? So no big deal. But if I didn't have this type of exposure on a weekly basis, if I didn't have this experience from a work perspective, right, and getting in front of the camera and speaking, this would be a fantastic opportunity to practice what you're going to be doing when you actually have an interview. Because as I understand it, certainly from the airline's perspective, in the 121 world, this is the way that most of the interviews, at least the initial interviews, will be conducted. You're going to be on camera somewhere, talking to someone remotely. Hey, this is an excellent opportunity to get the camera humming and to come off of mute and interact with folks. This is a safe environment. You can't fail. The chips are down when you get to the interview.
Peter opened the door for another suggestion for the folk that are all new to this industry. Whether you like it or not, you're judged from the moment you walk in the door. Your appearance, your mannerisms. In reviewing resumes in a hiring process, the resumes that came across my desk with grammatical errors went in the circular file. I got to the first incorrect something, and that was it. if someone walks into my office in a t-shirt, and I'm in a business, an organization where we represent and we present ourselves in front of the public, I don't want you representing my organization. And I think you have to be very aware. And I encourage all of you to speak up. I'm looking at the whole assembled group, those of you that are brave enough to be on camera. And I'm saying to myself, I wonder what that person's like. I don't know you because you're not speaking up. And I think that's important to articulate, to let us get to know you as you get to know us. And I think that's the secret to success. You dress and you act one step above the situation that you're in. You don't want to be below the curve, below the power curve, right, Joe? In an aviation term, you want to be, above that power curve.
Yeah, and I think I'll jump in and answer Joe's question as well. Every week I get emails from a decent batch of you saying, wow, that video is better than the previous week. Joe, every week, either online or in person, will say, Pete, you're getting better at this. I don't know if I'm getting any better or skilled at it. I think I'm bringing more passion to this because I look forward to this call every week. I look forward to this conversation. I look forward to sharing whatever insight I have or I gather either from you or from the industry or just knowledge I have. And it's fun. And I love, this is like family. I will always refer to this as family, and family members come and go and they come back like Kale and bring value to the family. And I really look forward to this. And to answer his other question, what else can we do? Beware. I am in the business, most charities raise money. We're in the business of raising money and we're trying to do that, but we're also in the business of raising mentors. And we hit a home run the other day. So we will probably see a lot more mentors coming on the calls in the next few weeks or after the big career week, and more employers. You guys want employers on the calls. I want to get you guys hired. If you're ready to get hired like Cory, we want to make that happen. So we're going to start seeing more of that. Those are two things that I want to bring to the table that we're not bringing to the table right now. And then another is partnerships. There's actually somebody on this call with whom we may develop a fun little partnership, and she's going to speak next because with every organization we meet, like Karen's, it opens doors to new opportunities. And I want to be in the business of bringing an abundance and an ever-growing abundance of resources to you for you to learn, gain, get connected, and get hired. So, Karen, what are you doing out in your part of the world?
Well, just today, I met with the wing commander from Civil Air Patrol, my local Civil Air Patrol group, and made a great connection, again, through another Civil Air Patrol guy. And we're getting ready for me to join, not just as an education member, but as a pilot member, to work my way up and be able to not only help Civil Air Patrol and tie in with kids, because I am a high school teacher currently, but also that is a way for me to build some hours and try some different aircraft. So it's a really great connection for me, and I think for Civil Air Patrol as well. So that's what I was doing today. But in general, I am the president of a nonprofit called Win Aero, which is a group that works to bring STEM education through aviation to students here in central New Hampshire. So each summer we have a summer camp that is called ACE Academy, Aerospace Career Education. And we love to bring in aerospace professionals. And we also take kids on field trips to some of the many aerospace industry options that are here in New Hampshire. We've got some of the new GE LEAP engines, parts of them are being built here. The fan blades are being built in another town, and we get to see the carbon fiber being woven together and glued together. I'm not sure if that was one of the problems with the United flight recently. Well, I'm going to get to the bottom of that, so I know my facts. So it's been really great to tie in with Pete, because I feel like in one way he and I are doing the same thing, but also I can't wait to switch careers and be a pilot full time, either as a CFI or sort of the corporate private world. I'm not so interested in airlines because a little bit like Pete, I've got looking at the 20 years down the road until retirement. And so I want to be able to have time at home and enjoy that. So this has been great to connect with Pete through Pathways, because now we can sort of like expand Pathways, or maybe expand Winero from coast to coast here. And then as part of that, make some connections and transition to an aviation job.
Karen, here's an opportunity of networking. You mentioned Civil Air Patrol, near and dear to my heart. I'm on Northeast Region staff, I'm on national staff, and I'm to Boston, New Jersey. Contact me, let me help you.
I look forward to that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Making it happen. I love it.
Love it.
Oh, man, I'm loving this workshop. All right, who else has a question or a comment?
I have an additional comment for the people, the job seekers, and the other people on the call who are pilots or aspiring pilots. As you may know, I'm a retired airline captain, and so far only Peter's contacted me for asking me questions and for advice, and the rest of you I haven't heard from personally. Now I know you probably have your own friends and you have pilots that you could ask questions to, but I've been in the Part 121 airline world for 37 years. I've flown corporate on and off for 20 years. I've been an instructor. I've flown charter. So most of you have said something that wasn't alarming, but you said you wanted to wait in your career to fly the airlines because it wasn't what you thought would be exciting, or you've used other words. Contact me. Airline flying is exciting.
Joe, can I ask a question actually? Because I was a little surprised to hear that sentiment of I'm not in a rush to get to the airlines. My question is, what I have heard from my current instructor, who was in the airlines for a while, now he's a corporate pilot, is the hassle of the unions and the bidding and the complexity of it. What's your take on that? Like the whole picture of airline flying for legacy airlines and working up through regionals. I think you think it's worth it, but can you describe that process so that we have a better understanding?
Okay, so in a few words, you asked a question about the unions. So kind of compare the unions at an airline to the government. You don't have to be involved with politics, it's there. The same thing with the airline unions, it's there. You could be a rah-rah union member and go to all these meetings and help out. The airline is there to help the pilots. Yeah, they seem to want more and more and more, and that's true. But they're also there for safety. So I would not shy away from an airline because it has a union. Most of them are today anyway. Your other question about why would you wait? Karen, is that what you wanted to know?
More
so
of
legacy,
that process of working up through regionals. In my mind, or from what I understand, everybody has to get through a regional to be able to fly for the real airline. Is that true?
most of the time it's true, only because they want some experience in jets. So if you were a military pilot and you had jet experience, you could be hired right out of the military. In fact, my cousin was asking me this question several months ago. He got out of the Marines and I helped him get on with an airline. So it's possible, but for the people on board here who have less than 2,000 hours total time, you probably won't get hired because there's other people more qualified. So when this COVID ends, hopefully very soon, everybody's going to go back to work, and it's going to be back to pilot shortage. So the corporate pilots will be gone to the airlines or moving up in the corporate world. You'll have a chance to be hired with less experience again, just like it was just a little over a year ago. A friend of mine was an instructor, and I helped him get a job with PSA. He had 1,300 hours when they hired him. That's how desperate they were. And they even hired him before he had his ATP written, with the realization that he had to get the written done. They paid him $200 a month until he got 1,500 hours and then hired him. So that's what the world is like when there's a shortage, which I'm sure we're going to get back to. So yes, you can go to the smaller commuter type airlines, fly for 2 or 3 years, build up the jet experience. And a lot of them now have even a flow through is what they call, where if you fly for like PSA, you're automatically looked at as a pilot applicant for American Airlines. Most of the majors do have flow throughs. They have arrangements with commuter airlines. And to answer all of your questions about, maybe you want to wait and have more fun and stuff. If you get on with a major airline, you will be on reserve for several months or years, depending on how fast everything moves. You're going to go to a different location every time you fly. Every time it's going to be new. You're going to be with a different crew, a different captain. It's not something that is mundane, flying from LA to New York. That's considered something that's really senior, because that's what the other people want to do. They want to have a schedule. So I offer my time and my experience. Get with Pete, get my email address, and ask me any detailed questions, and I'd very, very happy either on the phone or email answer your questions.
I just got to chime in real quick, Joe. I did reach out to you, albeit not for pilot advice, because I'm an aerospace engineer.
I remember, Jasper.
And in that same vein, I just want to share that this past Friday, I got accepted to RIT for the aerospace program.
Right.
So I'm transferring there. Now I'm just trying to button up my Air Force ROTC program there, and then I'm off in the fall to get that started.
Wonderful.
Cool.
That is huge news, my friend. Way to go. That is awesome. Gosh. I love it when goals are met. It's just beautiful. Jeez. All right. We have Ceci.
And Ceci Stratford, and I'm a mentor, and I've been flying for 45 years, and I have evolved over this period of time. And lately, in the last 10, 15 years, I've become more of a mentor, and mainly for scholarships. But I find as I'm involved with the Aviation Explorer programs and Flying Young Eagles, there's so many young people out there who are really curious about aviation, and they are excited to get into aviation, and they have lots of questions. So I have found Pathways has enriched me and my background of information that I can share with other people. So that's why I keep coming, and I'm just so excited. Anna McCoy-Hubinet, I referred her, and I have been mentoring her. So I'm so happy to see you here. Annalee, I'm just so happy, and I hope you keep coming, because you will get a lot more from this than you ever would from me. But it's the family and the team. We are a team, and I'm just so impressed with the program here. So, and these tips that you all gave were so valuable, don't give up. Don't ever give up on your goals, and just keep flying, keep learning, and keep meeting people. Lieutenant Colonel Michael, you said so much about volunteering. Belong to the organizations and take advantage of those contacts. 99s, I know Karen is a 99, and Annalee is a 99, and I learned so much and I was so inspired by 99s. And now there's Women in Aviation and other groups. So join other groups and participate with them and take advantage of those networking opportunities. We talked a lot about that last week, and that was so valuable. So thank you, Pete, for all you do, and I'll be around.
Here's another piece of ammunition for those of you that are working, especially with younger kids. If you're flying, for EAA or Young Eagles, the 99s, Gleim Aviation, if you go to their website, they have a free brochure that tells you what you need to do in order to get your private or your instrument or your commercial or your ATP or the 107 drone license. It's a great little resource that you can give these new people that would help turn them on to aviation. It's absolutely free. And I'm sure Gleim would even send you copies, or you can print them yourselves. So it's a brochure on how to be a pilot.
How do you spell that? Is it L?
Gleim.
Oh,
Gleim
Gleim.
Aviation.
Gleim. Okay. GL. Yeah, on the 99 San Fernando Valley 99's website, I have some tips, but they aren't completely up to date and not as thorough. So Gleim, I'll take a look at that and get more information on it because there's so much interest and there's so much involved in aviation. It takes a long time to get your pilot's license. You have to make decisions. You have to know people and you have to make your goals. That's something I wanted to ask you, Pete. Is part of Pathways, do you have a workshop on setting goals or defining your goals? I know you have your why, but what about goals?
Yeah, that's also answering Joe's question of what else we can provide. Huh? Joe, what do you think?
Because I have a lot of questions, and I find in reviewing scholarships that if people don't have their goal defined in a way to it, and see, Pathways is one of the pathways to get to your goal, and that's what I keep telling people. But deciding what you want to do is really hard for a lot of people. And I think having a workshop on that, it ties into your why. Why do you want to get into?
Okay. Yeah, I think we can do
part of it or adjunct to it.
Fumble on that because we could talk about setting goals, potential roadblocks, how to work through the roadblocks to continue your journey, things like that. That could be fun.
And people who write down their goals are, I don't know what the percentage, are 40% more likely to meet them.
Right.
So you have to write down your goals if you really want to do something. And that's a statistic that I found on the internet. And it's really important.
All right. I love it. More work, but goal setting. I think that would be a lot of fun. I'll have to figure out where it falls in the chain because once we're done with the interview section, we're going to host a few workshops before the career week. When the career week is over, that following week, I think it's May 20, we'll start a whole new series. So let's stick that in. And that's a great segue. Just to remind, we're going to start a new series starting next week. We're going to talk about how to prepare for the job interview. And it's one of our more in-depth discussions, now videos. So it's going to be a lot of fun for me to put together. To me, it's the make or break phase of the 3-part, or now 4-part interview series, because if you don't prepare well, you're dead. So be ready for that. I'll send the video out probably on Monday, and we can all watch it and share on next Wednesday, same time. So want to alert you of that. This is going to be a fun series. We have a lot. It's very intuitive, so we have a lot of fun with it. All right. Any last questions before we hang up, before I turn it over to Joe?
Yeah, I have one for Cale.
Okay.
Cale, are you only wanting to fly for ATP, or are you looking for a flight instructor position?
I will instruct with anyone that wants to let me fly a plane.
I want everybody to hear what he said, because that's why we're here also. We have contacts all over the country and now all over the world. And if Cale was saying, hey, do you know anybody who's looking for a flight instructor? you would know that there's two companies in Reno that are actively looking for flight instructors. We can hook you up with the person to talk to there. And if you're interested in moving, and I think you live in Sacramento now, if I'm right,
Yep.
but things like that for the rest of you, if there's a position you're looking for, or something to do that's mentoring or volunteering or position, that's why we're here. Give Pete a call, and Pete will say, oh, Joe knows the people over at this place. Let's find out if there's a job opening. So use that resource.
Thank you.
Great point. Okay. Joe, since you were just talking, why don't we have you replicate our dear friend Eric? Close
Okay.
this thing out.
Well, this was a pretty good session. You know, I think I get a lot out of just kind of an open forum where everybody talks and everybody has a chance to learn something or something new. So if nobody has anything else, here we go. 3, 2, 1, out.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. This was amazing. We'll see you next week.